Let me read to you a passage from the 6th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 1 to 6. It's the Gospel for Wednesday of the 4th week of Ordinary Time. St. Mark writes, Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. "Where did this man get these things?" they asked. "What is this wisdom that has been given to him, that he even does miracles? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offence at him. Jesus said to them, "Only in his hometown, among his relatives, and in his own house is a prophet without honour. He could not do any miracles there, except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their lack of faith." That's from Mark chapter 6, verse 1 to 6. Among other things, it suggests thoughts about suffering. Why do I say this? Well, you know, the biggest problem about life and reality is that there is suffering and evil. Given the fundamental question of why there is anything at all, the second question that arises from this is, why is there all this suffering and evil? The problem is sharpened when placed within the context of religious belief. If you say there is a good and all-powerful God who made and sustains the world, and thus providing an answer to the question of why there is anything at all, what about the second question? Why is it that he allows all this evil and suffering? The answer to this is awaited, and nothing satisfactory is given in reply. It is the ever-recurring problem of evil. Man naturally wants things to be different from the way they are, because the way things are is very frustrating. Time and again, he is at an impasse and sunk in the quagmire of difficulty and minor or major catastrophe. The practical response to this cantankerous, indifferent, unfriendly, and often hostile world varies from one person and society to another. Some deal resolutely with things and strive to get their own way, whatever be the drift of events. Others are sporting about it and get up when knocked down, and with a laugh keep on running. Others walk off the field and resolve to take it easy. But the question is, what sense are we to make of it all? Now let us bear in mind that the general answer of religious people with high intelligence and education is that reason and natural reflection cannot provide an adequate answer to the problem of why a good and all-powerful God would choose to let evil and suffering be. A tsunami strikes a vast area of underdeveloped Asia, and thousands of unsuspecting families are swept out to their deaths. What was God doing with his arms folded, as it were? That is the problem. And all grant that in terms of natural reason, it is not fully soluble. But, well, what is fully soluble anyway? If we consider how limited is the extent of man's understanding of things in general, it is not improbable that there is a wisdom to things that far, far exceeds man. It may be that a fallen and frustrating world is deliberately allowed by the Creator to be a more fruitful scene for good than man would naturally imagine. All of this brings us to our Gospel today that I read earlier, and to what on the face of it appears to be a frustrating situation for the Son of God made man. Our Lord, before whom the demons fall helplessly prostrate, and before whom no natural illness or evil has power to stand defiant, has grown up in the midst of his village, his family, his friends and his relatives. From various hints in the Gospels we can see that he thoroughly merged with his social environment over those years. So true was his immersion in his scene that those around him, with the exception of his surpassingly holy mother and foster father, had no inkling of the altogether august nature of his divine person. So here he is now, back in his home village, but back as an acknowledged prophet, with miracles to his name that have sent his fame in all directions. He enters the synagogue of Nazareth, which must have been small because the village was small, and yes, he amazes them with his wisdom and the fame of his miracles. This was the young man they had known all along, and whose circle of relatives was so well known to them. Where did this man get these things, they asked? What is this wisdom that has been given to him, that he even does miracles? Is not this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? But their response? They took offence at him. The Greek is eskandalizanto. Broadly, it was our Lord's very human nature and situation that they could not get beyond. They could not, or rather would not, accept his thoroughly incarnate character and circumstances, together with, as well as, what he was simultaneously revealing about himself. He was just one of themselves as far as they were prepared to allow. Now the point here is not so much the tragedy of their darkened hearts as the limited, frustrating and sad feature of the world which our Lord had to face, and which was the arena of his mission. It is an instance, let us call it, of the problem of evil, of what faces man in so many situations. But Christ allowed it, as he did numerous such instances right to his death, as the very arena for doing superlative good. It tells us that God allows all this because, in his wisdom, paradoxically, so much good will result. Our gospel incident today throws light on the problem of evil and suffering, and on the good that can and will be done in all the sad and frustrating situations that face man, if he takes his cue from Jesus Christ. Christ is the light of the world, a world struck with so much evil and suffering. Let us learn from the teacher of mankind that it is precisely in the midst of suffering that so much good can and will be done. Christ saved the world from sin from within the midst of suffering and evil, and our gospel incident today is one instance of this pattern that was so central to his incomparable life. Let us learn from him in this then, as in everything.